Hey everyone, welcome to beautiful Sydney and welcome to the next episode of Cyber Caffeine Chats, where we're taking a complex topic and breaking it down into smaller, easier to understand chunks. Well, in this series, we're talking about all things AI, specifically in the context of cyber. If you tuned into last month's episode, we were looking specifically at the endpoint area, but today we're going to be looking at as your data and your applications move into the cloud, how can you get increased visibility and control on this flow of information that we've got to deal with today? Well, before we dive into it, let's take a look at today's example of something funny and interesting we can do with AI tools today. All right, so what are we discussing today? Well, we're going to stay on the topic of protection, of prevention. So in that, it's the front door. If you're protecting your castle, if you're protecting your house, it's that first line of defense to stop those threats and intruders from coming into your organization. Again, last month we were looking at endpoint focus. So if you've got AI-based applications installed on your workstations, on your servers, how to protect yourself there. And today we're going to be focusing more on the network as your data starts to move away from those endpoints and somewhere else on the network or somewhere on the internet. How can we help you there? So if we think about the concept of how things have changed in the way that we work in recent years, it used to be, all of our users were based in the office. It used to be all of our data and our applications were in a centralized data center. But now it's not the case. Users are working from everywhere, from home, from a cafe, maybe they're in the office sometimes. Our data is moving to the cloud. It's moving to infrastructure as a service, SaaS, out there on the internet. It's flying all over the place, and it's difficult to keep control and keep visibility of what's actually going on from a security perspective in this new distributed way that we work. And then you can ask yourself, how does AI come into this? Well, again, more and more tools we're seeing popping up are AI-based. So these may be like your common applications that we all know and love, like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, whatever it is that you like to use. Or there's also many of the AI apps that are coming out there on the internet. Some of them may be useful, some of them may be dangerous, or something that you'd prefer to sanction from your organization. And look, it's one thing if we're trying to decide what do we want to allow, what do we want to block, but you want to be able to give your users a good experience. We want to be able to enable them to use this wonderful new technology to improve the way they work and make themselves efficient, but we need to do it in a secure way. So the question is, how can we implement this style of zero trust secure access to protect our users, protect our information, and not only allow these tools to be used from anywhere you want to work, but also control the flow of information to get visibility on what's actually happening and stop the bad stuff as we identify it. So with that, let's dive in a little bit deeper and take a look at exactly how this might work. All right, so let's have an explore of this concept of zero trust secure access a little bit further. And we can really break key use cases when we think about data flow. The first is really looking at our users, or at least our trusted users, accessing an application or a server that is untrusted. So there may be a few different examples of this, but effectively, trusted users, this is our internal users that we're trying to protect. And so an untrusted application might be, as an example, a public LLM. So this is, your Copilot, your ChatGPT, or whatever else we've got out there on the internet. And if we think about the information flow as the users access this application, there's a few things that we'd like to stop from happening in this case. So first of all, from a perspective of private data, something that's secure and important to our company, if this is being pushed up to this untrusted application, we want to be able to stop that with our zero trust proxy or gateway, whatever we've got in place. At the same time, if the application is delivering some malware or some unwanted content back to the user, we also want to stop that, but that's actually in the opposite direction. So both from a security or a threat prevention perspective, but also a data loss perspective, there's a few ways to look at this. Now, the next use case I'd like to look at is effectively the opposite. If we have a user that's this time untrusted, and we have an application that they're accessing that is trusted. So this may be, in this case, a third party, a contractor, or someone external to the organization. And the application, in this case, is going to be a private LLM. So maybe an application you built in-house, one of your internal assets that you're protecting here. And again, we've got the concept where the user is talking to this application. What do we want to protect against here? Or what sort of things in that data flow do we want to identify and stop? Well, yeah, the first one is the same thing, private data. However, this time the direction is going the other way. So we actually want to stop data from our private application from being exfiltrated to that external untrusted user. And if we think about the other way, things like prompt injection or different types of attacks may be tested against our applications. So if those untrusted users are trying to upload this or trying to inject this into our application, that's also something we want to protect against to avoid any breach scenarios there. So what we need to think about is not only what are we blocking or allowing in terms of sanctioned or unsanctioned AI applications out there, but if we're going to allow something, if we've got certain data flows that we're looking at, how can we use this concept of secure access to really increase our visibility and gain control so that we're protecting our users and we're protecting our data in this new emerging world. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that and you found that content useful. Well, stay tuned next month as we dive into yet another concept around AI cybersecurity. And with that, have a wonderful weekend and I'll see you next time.